Hello, everyone. It's Mary Maguire here from Agents to Change. I'm just doing a quick live here about living a life without regrets. You may have seen it already advertised on a separate post, but I had a microphone fail, so I'm doing it again. Anyway, as I said, from Agents to Change. I'm also the author of The Female Edge and The Inclusion Edge. But today I'm not going to talk about the books. I'm going to talk about life, and I'm going to start by talking about and the finality of death, which is a bit of a glum subject to start with, I know. But why am I starting with death? Well, I experienced a recent bereavement. I lost a close relative, and it was a premature death, and it was due to cancer. And there was a real sense of regret about losing this person. Lots of complicated reasons. Not all of them I'm going to go into now. But certainly the way that she lived her life, and I don't know how she felt at the very end of it, but it was really constrained by so many things. It was constrained by fear, by anxiety, by a real sense of um, not feeling that she could have fully expressed herself. And I think that was something that probably was on her mind a lot towards the end. When we're facing death, we have lots of things that actually come to our mind about the entire arc of our life and what we've done and the choices we've made. And it really comes down to what is our legacy. So, our legacy has very little to do with the job we do, or the house we own, or the car we drive, clothes we wear. The things that we get obsessed with in everyday life have very little to do with what are we left with after we die. And it comes down to very, very simple things. It comes down to, what were we the embodiment of? What did we represent in terms of our actions and our values and our focus? And also, what was the indelible marks we left on other people's hearts? What was the relationships we had? What was the way that we made other people feel? What are the things that they will remember about us that weren't an option in it? There wouldn't have been an option in their life if they hadn't have met us. So legacy is both intangible and also very, very understandable. And as a result of having that recent bereavement, it made me think about a very well-known book called The 5 Reasons Why We Die. And in that book, it talked about, and they're not in specifically the order of regret, but all of them came up. And it was to do with somebody who worked in a hospice and spending time with people in their last days and hours and having these conversations with them. So let me share them with you. The first one was the courage to be true to me. And specifically, what people said was the courage to live a life that was true to me. And there's all sorts of reasons why we don't do that. It comes down to maybe some fears we hold, but also to do with our relationship with parents and the expectations they have, or the expectations of society about what it says we can do and what we can't do. And also maybe some of the inner thoughts and beliefs we hold about ourselves and the self image that also limits us as well. But as a result of that, there's a sense of things being left on the table in terms of life that maybe we could have gone after, maybe we could have done, maybe we could have achieved more. And the second regret was that we gave so much to work. Work is important. I do a lot of work with people around their work. There's a lot of my work is around people's career and around achieving more in their career and doing more in the career. So work is important, don't get me wrong. And having pride in our profession, pride in our achievements is good. But if it gets to the point where we're giving so much of ourselves to work, to the exclusion of everything else, then I think that really takes away from our life. And I always say to people, there's nobody's epitaph anywhere that says, I wish I'd spent longer at work. I wish I'd worked more hours at work. It's often about, why did I spend so much time? Why did I give so much? Because here's the thing, organizations are really hungry beasts. They'll always want more from you. There'll always be the next deadline, the next priority, the next change, the next project. And it will be constant. So they'll always want more and more and more. So asking your organization to put in perspective the amount of work that is reasonable for you to do is never really going to happen. There are some exceptions out there, don't get me wrong, but it really is something that you need to think about. What is the reasonable amount of myself, my energy, my time I give to work, so it doesn't suck up all the oxygen in the room? And let's go on to the third regret. The third regret is not saying how I feel, not really being clear about that to people. And what I mean by that is the whole array of emotions that we have. When I'm feeling upset, did I really express that I was upset and maybe explain why? When I was happy, did I express that? And probably the three big ones we really struggle to express. One of them is love. Did we really express the love for our partner, for our children, for our parents, and for other people in our life in a true and wholehearted way? We also don't often express regret very easily. It's often one that's very difficult for us. And then the third one is forgiveness. We often struggle to show forgiveness and to accept forgiveness as well. And there's all sorts of reasons for us not being that clear and not being comfortable expressing them three emotions. But often it comes down to feeling that somebody might judge us or that we might be rejected. And that's often a big fear for all of us. But if we stay in that fear, there's all sorts of other things that we didn't allow ourselves not only to fully appreciate for ourselves, but share with other people so they understood our emotional life, where we were, where we were going. The fourth one. The fourth regret is that we didn't keep in touch with friends enough. Yeah, can I put that in? Yeah. Friends are really important to us if you think about it. I met up with a friend of mine this weekend, and it was just lovely. We've known each other for over 30 years. We don't see each other that much, but we do make an effort to see each other a couple of times a year. And there's something, I was saying to her, there's something about the place that we meet, the emotional connection we have, the understanding of each other's journey and the ups and downs and rights and lefts of that journey means that we meet in a really special place. A place where we fully accept each other, where we can tease each other, where we can be there for each other, where we can hear about difficult things and be the support the other person needs to be. And that's something that often it's only our friends can do that for us. But there's lots of other things that get in the way of continuing to keep them friendships up. Work, as I've said, is one of them. The realities of family life is another. If you've got young children or aging parents, they can often feel like they're making lots of demands for us. So taking time out of that to spend with friends can feel like a big sacrifice. And don't get me wrong, there's periods in our life where we have to accept that that's not possible. But it's so important for our sense of self and to get the level of support and the level of enjoyment that actually doesn't come from many other relationships in our life. So friendships is a really important one. And then the final regret, number 5, was just allowing ourselves to be happier, allowing happiness to be part of our life. That sounds so simple, but it's incredible how much we defer happiness until. I'll take that big holiday when. I'll take that day off when. I'll, give myself some time when. And we put some conditions in the way. And sometimes them conditions are always going to be something that actually moves it further down the road, further down the road. And sometimes it's simple things that we don't allow ourselves to do. Maybe taking an hour out and spending time with a book. Maybe taking some time in a bad day and picking up the phone to an old friend and just chatting about it and having a moan so that you can get it out of your system, but with somebody who'll help you to laugh about it. But the happiness, if you think about it, is our fuel for all of our life. So if we're constantly putting off our happiness, then we're really dumbing down our sense of our life and how we're experiencing it. And again, there may be many, many reasons why we do that. It often comes down to simple things like we don't feel we deserve happiness. And that word deserving is a very punitive word. It really, it is a sense of, we haven't done enough, we haven't been enough, we are not good enough to have happiness in our life. But everyone has the ability to have happiness in life, and everyone has a right to have happiness in their life. And sometimes it's finding small ways to bring that happiness in. It would be an awful thing to come to the end of our life and say, yeah, I recognise that I didn't allow that to happen. I was constantly pushing it away from me. And I've definitely had people in my life where I can see that that was very much the case for them for lots of reasons, lots of trauma, lots of difficulties. But it really gets in the way of every aspect of your life. In fact, probably the happiness one affects all of the others that I've talked about. And I just wonder, as you reflect on them 5 regrets, the regret of not being true to ourselves, spending too much time at work, not expressing our emotions, not spending time with friends, not allowing ourselves to be happy. If you reflect on them, do any of them resonate with you? Do you feel that there is some aspect of them that you can actually see as a theme in your life, or choices you'll make, or things that are limiting your sense of feeling fulfilled and happy? And if there are, well, there's things you can do about it. You can start building a life of fulfillment and of enjoyment now, and maybe release some of them regrets, let them go. So maybe think about if there is one that resonates with you, maybe write that down and maybe think about why. The why of our regrets is really important for us because there's lots of influences and there's lots of reasons why that might be the case. But it's going to be different for every person. So maybe think about that. And then when you've understood the whys, maybe what can I do about that? Because when we take action, we can actually change our sense of regret. So think about what that action might be for you. It might be small things. It might be, taking half an hour out of a day to do something that's really important to you, or spending more time with a loved one, or taking time to have a deeper conversation with your partner, or spending time with a pet, or or reaching out to a friend you haven't spoken to for a while. They're often small things, but the things that bring us joy allow us to have the fuel to do more in our life. It gives us an energy source which is far richer and far deeper than anything else. And that's something that I often do with people when we work together. One of the things we build is a plan to say what would be the most fulfilling, happiest, best year I could have in my life? What would bring me the most joy, the most passion? And clearly, it's centered around the important things like work and career because they are really important to us. But it's not just about that, that needs to be around the rest of life. So, work needs to fit in with a fulfilled life as opposed to squeezing life into a job that we love, but somehow the rest of life outside of our work isn't very good. So always think about it is we're always building a life we love, and through that, work will always be an important part of it. And often when we're building these plans, we're looking at all them aspects that bring us joy around our loved ones, around the things that we're passionate about, around the things that we have enjoyment around as well. So I've given you some actions about how you can do that. But if you wanted to talk more about what that might look like for you, I'm going to put in a link in the comments, and that's a way you could find out more about what would doing a workshop with me look like, where you could build a life you love without any regrets. And if you've got any questions, if any of this has resonated with you, you can contact me at mary at agents2, that's the number 2, change.com. I'm wishing you a great day and obviously a great life ahead. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm really hoping that the microphone was better behaved today.